started. Everybody come on in, grab a seat.
That is beautiful.
You know, I've discovered, I've learned that in my brief 21 and a half years in the Army, it seems like the majority of this congregation has military experience. Because whenever you enter a large auditorium, everybody sits towards the back. And the speaker's always doing something like checking his breath.
I don't know why.
It's really weird, because if I do move down here, probably not too many would follow. So I'm going to start here like we always do. This morning's topic is the peasant king. It comes from Matthew 21, verse 10, which reads, "When Jesus entered Jerusalem, the whole city was stirred and asked, 'Who is this?'" That's what the elders gave me to share with you this morning. That's what I'm basing all this upon. Okay, so we're not. There may not be a bunch of material itself. The topic itself is pretty good. Have you looked at the title, or you listened to the title? Matthew 21:10. If you listen to the title, the peasant king, you should discover what we call an oxymoron. Okay. An oxymoron is nothing more than a drastic contradiction. Like people used to say, happily married. It was military intelligence, something like that. Yeah, they're oxymorons. You know, we as a society, we drive on parkways and we park on driveways. You know that? Yeah, that's an oxymoron. Okay, so now you got the idea. The peasant king, of course, being an oxymoron in that we think of peasant as, well, what do we think of peasant as? Peasant. What is it? Poor? Peasant. Common folk. That's a good word. I like that. Anybody else? What is a peasant? Sharecropper. I like that one. Peasant. Yeah, peasant. Yeah. P-E-A-S-A-N-T. Peasant. Jesus, the peasant king. Okay. The title actually reads the peasant king. So we think of peasant as, I went to Merriam-Webster online, Kyle do. A member of a European class or persons tilling the soil with small landowners or laborers. It's pretty good. When you think of king, what do you think of? What comes to mind? Well, it's good. Wasn't it? Aristocracy. That didn't come to my mind.
Solomon.
But I have to go ahead.
Solomon.
Solomon?
When you think of a king.
Yep.
Think of a king's king, right?
Yep. You said something moments ago. King's king. I like that. We're going to get back to that. Go ahead, Larry.
Right. Talk about that. You know, if you go back to David, David, you might call him a peasant.
That's a really good example. I didn't see my lesson here, so stop. No, that's a good example. I like that. Okay. I heard something over here. King. No synonyms for king, huh? That's okay. Rich. Okay. Merriam-Webster says a male monarch of a major territorial unit, especially one whose position is hereditary and who rules for life. All right. A couple of things for peasant, a usually uneducated person of low social status. Originally, Urban Dictionary is on this one. Originally, the term used to describe an agricultural laborer, usually those living in medieval Europe under feudalism. Take this one. Other synonyms for peasant might be humble, scavenger, lowly, trivial. Okay, when we think of king, it's quite the opposite. If you capitalize the K in king, what does it usually refer to? Our God, yeah, Lord. And Jesus. One that holds a preeminent position, especially a chief among competitors, like Mike was alluding to. Proud, leader, prominent, critical, vital, or important. Okay. Now we've got our contrast between peasant and king. So peasant king, wow, that's seems like it's got one or two connotations. Okay. If you are a peasant king, and if you are a peasant first, you are the greatest peasant there is. I'm not certain that's a concept we can wrap around, but the greatest peasant, or the lowliest of kings, or peasant king. Moments ago, I described something chief among competitors. Jesus is the King of Kings and Lord of Lords. You probably recognize that phrase from Scripture. It's used several times. Let's turn to 1 Timothy chapter 6. 1 Timothy chapter 6. Here's one of the places it's used. 1 Timothy chapter 6. I'm going to begin in verse 13. In the sight of God who gives life to everything, and of Christ Jesus, who, while testifying before Pontius Pilate, made the good confession, I charge you, to keep this command without spot or blame until the appearing of our Lord Jesus Christ, which God will bring about his own time. God, the blessed and only ruler, the King of kings, Lord of lords, who alone is immortal, and who lives in unapproachable light, whom no one has seen or can see. To him be honored and might forever. Okay, so could I use the phrase, the cliche, cream of the crop for King of Kings? Okay, there's a couple other places the King of Kings is used. In Revelation, Revelation 17 and Revelation 19, it's used in the full text. That is King of Kings, Lord of Lords. In Revelation 19, that's what it's described. Revelation 17, it's reversed the phrase. It's Lord of Lords and King of Kings. All right. Some other times the King of Kings is used: Ezra, Ezekiel, and Daniel. I just kind of listed these out, and you can follow along if you want. Ezra 7, verses Ezra 7:12. I'll just give you the context in which it's described. King, hope I get this right, Artaxerxes. Hope I got that right. Sound right? King Artaxerxes is writing a letter to Ezra, and that's the way he's kind of presenting himself in the letter. King of Kings. In Ezekiel, this is Nebuchadnezzar being describing himself. And in Daniel 2, that was, well, I'm sorry, if you're writing notes, that was Ezekiel 26. In Daniel chapter 2, Daniel refers to King Nebuchadnezzar, while he's interpreting his dream, as King of Kings. There's a couple other phrases for Lord of Lords also. Deuteronomy 10. And Deuteronomy 10 is unique because it includes an additional phrase: Lord of Lords, King of Kings, and God of Gods. Okay. Deuteronomy chapter 6, I'm sorry, Deuteronomy chapter 10, verse 17. It includes a reference to God of Gods. You'll also see that in Psalm 136. So we're talking about the very best, the highest, the finest. Now, we believe in a principle called monotheism. The name pretty much describes it. If you kind of break it down, it means what? One God. That's right, one God. There are numerous societies that believe in polytheism. Well, many gods, right? The Greeks had many gods. The Romans had many gods. We named planets after those gods. There's all sorts of gods out there. If they were occurring here in the 21st century, you'd probably have a shop downtown called Rent-A-God. There would be so many gods. Now, we think of God as deity. What we fail to do sometimes is think of what makes a deity. Would a deity be something that we spend an awful lot of time with? Well, I hope so. Deity, God, supreme. Give me another characteristic of what we would do of that deity. Worship. There's a great one. What else? Praise is a good one. Worship and praise. Okay. Three O's. Omniscient. Yeah, the other way. I have that. I'm going to cover that. Thank you. The 3 O's is what Jerry said. omnipresent, omniscient, and the third one. Okay, I would honor God, yes. If it were my God that I were seeking, I would revere him or her, as the case may be. Okay. We serve the one true living God. Didn't get an amen, but that's okay. Don't worry about that. Because that's the only God in town. That's who we gave in town. And it's not because he's the only one, so it's like, okay, well, this is the only deity. Yeah, okay, well, worship you. Sure. Yeah. It's because that's our conviction. That's what we earnestly believe. If we don't, we don't have a problem. I mentioned that in Psalm 136, there was the, right, it alluded to God of gods. Go ahead and turn over to Psalm 136, please. Psalm 136. Psalm 136, if you look at verse 3, can I get a reader for that, please? Just verse 3.
Give thanks to the Lord of Lords, for his loving kindness is everlasting.
Okay. For his loving kindness is everlasting. I've got written down, it speaks of giving thanks to the Lord because his love is eternal. Pretty much the same thing. Okay. The phrase King of Kings, Lord of Lords indicates someone who has the power to exercise absolute dominion over his realm. What is the realm of Jesus?
Yes. Oh.
All powers, all authorities is given to me in
Yes.
heaven and earth.
That's it. That's it. Heaven and earth. All creation. Okay. All creation wouldn't be confined to heaven and earth. It's not isolated. Just that. Thanks, Larry. Let's see if I put this slide in there. A little later. Okay. I want to read you a little story here. It's a short story. Found it online. You'll probably be able to guess what it's referring to. So we start out like this. There was once a good king who loved his people very much. He dedicated his life to serving people, and he had a hard time understanding exactly what they were going through. The king was born into a royal family. He always knew he would become king. He never had to cut wood with wood choppers or work in the fields like a farmer. It was hard for him to really understand what it was like to be a regular person in his kingdom. So one day, this king decided to become a peasant himself. He would lay down his crown, give up all his power so he could work like the workers in the field, and struggle through life like those who lived in his kingdom. The king told his guardsmen and noblemen, "Today you see me for your last time for many years." "Good king." "Why do you say that?" they asked. "Are you going to a foreign country?" The king replied, "No, I'm going out amongst my subjects, and I'm going to become a peasant." His guards and noblemen were amazed. Why would the king become a peasant? Why should he care what others have to go through? He will always be king, so what does it matter to him how others live? It was hard for them to understand the king's mind was made up. The good king left the castle and lived in disguise among the peasants so he could understand them better. The king loved his people and he wanted to understand their needs and wishes, so he became one of them. Okay. That's fiction. What do we know for fact? Exactly. A little louder, Jerry, please. Oh, yeah. Christ did the same thing. I wouldn't necessarily say that Christ did the same thing for the same reason. Not necessarily. But it does help. See, when we talk to God, when we pray, does God already know our needs? Why pray?
Gotta ask.
I like those. Some things are going to be done through prayer. You got to ask. The state lottery, you can't win if you don't play. Yeah, you can't win if you don't pray. That's what it is. It falls into the same line. God knows our needs. Is he willing to supply them without our consent? I think he does, at least to the extent of his will. He's willing to supply all our needs. Now, Whether we're gonna act on those supplies, can't say. That's kind of up to the individual. God gives us the fundamentals, the basics. He gives us all our food, whether we know it or not. He gives us everything we need, clothing, from whatever it is. He gives us at least an education sufficient to do His will. All these things are given to us. We have the tendency to take it for granted. No, I did. Do you really believe, are you honestly convicted that God needed to come down to earth and be born to get to know us? Do you believe that? Somebody said no, I like that. Somebody said yes, I like that too. The question was, do you really believe He had to come down to get to know us? Did He really have to? Oh, no, I don't believe so either. Let's look at a little scripture to back that up. Please turn with me to Hebrews chapter 4. Now, we're on the topic of the peasant king. He's coming down to earth to get to know us according to the parallel in that story I told you. Hebrews chapter 4. This is beginning in verse 13. Nothing in creation is hidden from God's sight. Everything is uncovered and laid bare before His eyes to Him and whom we must give account. I like that. Hebrews 14 says we give an account to. Anybody else we give an account to? Or anybody else holding us accountable? Oh, I've heard it. Holy Spirit. Yeah, the Holy Spirit. God's Holy Spirit does. Okay. So we're looking at the omniscient side of God. He knows everything. He didn't need to get to know us. He already knew us. He created us. Go ahead.
Well, I can't help it, because the verses following that indicate that He did know. He knows more than His agenda.
Go ahead.
Right?
Oh, no, I was agreeing with you. Go ahead.
It says, we do not have a high priest who is unable to sympathize with our weaknesses, but we have one in every respect has been tested as we are, yet without sin. Let us approach the throne of grace with boldness, so that we may receive mercy and find grace to help us in the time of need. So I think that, I believe Jesus would not have sympathized as much with us if He hadn't come and endured everything just like that.
I got a little confession to make. I loaded that question.
I think
All right, I loaded that question on purpose. Do you believe that God needed to come down to earth in human form to get to know us? Now, I'll give you the answer. The answer is definitely no. Like I said, I loaded the question. God knows everything. God made everything. And we believe that, right? We better. We're going to have a tough time in this class at least. God made everything. He knows everything. He made us. He knew exactly what was going to happen. We are predestined. Those verses sound kind of familiar. So one more time the question. Do you believe that God needed to come down to earth and want to get to know us? The answer is no. He already knew us. We needed Him to come down to earth. He didn't need to. We needed Him to come down.
So I wrestle with that, and I appreciate that because I think I stand where you're speaking, but we see in the beginning where man became very corrupt, and God said, I'm sorry that I was created man, therefore I'm going to take him out. And so we see a change in that behavior at that point. And so, yeah, I'm omniscient, I'm everything, right? He knows everything, He knows us. And having Him come here was certainly a benefit to us, meaning that way we can say, He came down here, experienced life as a man, and He has empathy with us, right?
Correct.
But in the same respect, the argument that was made by your statement is that He didn't necessarily need to come down here to know us to do that. I wonder if that didn't influence Him somehow. I know that He had the plan of grace and our works from since before time, but I wrestle with that. I think that He wouldn't have done it if He didn't intend to do it for His purpose.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and if Jesus tells us that He so that, for the same reason, you know, that he might know us, right? Because he came as man. Paul echoed that in several letters to churches,
Right.
that he might be able to know and empathize with him. That seems to be his purpose. That would indicate that it has some loaded value in him.
We are God's children, yes? You ever done anything to your kids that you already knew the outcome, you already knew what was going to do, but you did it for whom? For their benefit, exactly. If I ask my son or daughter, hey, could you please do this for me, take care of something? Let's say sweeping the floor, so that I can do something else. And then afterwards, as a parent, I got to follow through, so I say to them something like, hey, great job, thanks, that was really helpful. Who benefited more from sweeping the floor? I might submit to you the kid, the child did. The parent, our Lord in heaven, did it for the child's benefit, us. That's what I'm driving at. I'm not saying that God's Son didn't come to earth to get to know us better. I'm saying that we could draw the tie, the bridge between ourselves and God through Christ. That's what I'm aiming at. It's such an easy prospect to see when we do it with our own children, as parents, when we do things like that for our own kids. And why is it such a challenge when God does it for us, when we are His children? I scratch. See, I didn't make contact with you were here. Oh, yeah. And I think there's a certain amount of pride. Maybe this is something about we think we know when we grow older. And I'm no stranger to that kind of pride. There is a certain esteem in my heart. I'm hoping it's the proper pride, the proper esteem, that would say, you're growing, Chip. Not just here, but you're also growing. You're developing. You're getting a little bit better, getting a little wiser. You're finding more things out, and you're learning. Isn't that special? We still get to learn. Tony, you're one of the elders here. Are you still learning? Mark, how about you? You're one of the elders here. You still learning? Bill, where are you at? Okay. He's learning. He's learning. He must be out learning. Tony says he's learning. It's peculiar. We tend to have the capacity to revere our elders as very learned men. I believe that. I do. And the reason I'm convinced they're learned men, one of the reasons, is that they're learning. And they're humble enough to admit it. Because I'm going to tell you right now, standing in front of you, I sure am not an expert in the law. No. I don't pretend to be. I love sharing with you. That's my motivation. Also in 1 John, that God is omniscient, that is, He knows everything. 1 John chapter 3, this is verses 19 through 20. This is how we know that we belong to the truth and how we set our hearts at rest in His presence. If our hearts condemn us, we know that God is greater than our hearts and He knows everything. Well, we were talking about why God's Son, or God came to earth in the form of man. And we talked about He knows everything and that He already knew us. Psalms 139, turn to it. We'll be over this stuttering one day. Psalm 139, this is beginning in verse 13. For you created my inmost being. You knit me together in my mother's womb. I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Your works are wonderful. I know that full well. My frame was not hidden from you when I was made in the secret place, when I was woven together in the depths of the earth. Your eyes saw my unformed body. All the days ordained for me were written in your book before one of them came to be. Oh yeah, He is well aware of us. Jeremiah 1, beginning in verse 4. The word of God came to me saying, before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart. What's another word for that? Sanctified. I like that. I appointed you as a prophet to the nations. That was Jeremiah 1, 4 through 5. So along the lines of God already knowing us, last verse I'll share with you is Ephesians. Ephesians 1, and this is verses 4 through 6. For he chose us in him before the creation of the world. Wow. We, according to scientists, we were a little tiny amoeba that split and split again. For he chose us in him before the creation of the world to be holy and blameless in his sight. In love, he predestined us for adoption to sonship through Jesus Christ, in accordance with his pleasure and his will, to praise his glorious grace, which he has freely given us in the one he loves. Wow, something back there. Oh, I didn't raise your hand. So God didn't do it for himself. There could be a benefit for doing it for himself. As we discussed before, like, for example, the elders are always learning. I know I am. I'm convinced that a wise person always subjects him or herself to wisdom and learning. I used to perform a great deal of tutoring, especially in math, and the kids were wondering, wow, you're pretty smart, Chip. I took that with a grain of salt because, and I didn't have the heart to tell them, I'm like, approaching 60, but yeah, I should know a few things. Really. But the learning is lifelong. And that's the challenge I have sometimes when I hear of, as an example, elders retiring. I kind of scratch my head on that a little bit. How do you retire from serving God? You can do that. I don't know. God did it for us. He did it for our benefit, at least primarily for our benefit. We were the ones that needed God to send his son to earth as the peasant king. We need to know, we're the ones that need to know, that God understands what it's like to be one of us and among us. God already understood what it was like to be one of us because he formed us. We didn't know that. You know what's kind of strange? In being a peasant king, sometimes to lead a group of people just depends on the time. You know that? Let me give you an example. Alcoholics Anonymous. Most, as I understand it, most of their group leaders are recovering addicts or former addicts that have, through the test of at least time, surrendered that old way. And now a group of people who are freshly recovering from being addicts can empathize with the leader because that leader's been there, walking in their shoes or boots or whatever. They've been subject to the same thing, and it's the members of the group that need to know that. That same analogy is the same conviction I hold for Christ coming to earth. Not just to get to know us, but so that we could identify that he knew us, that he knows us to this day. That's probably one of the most powerful parts of the message that I can share with you this morning. And the clock says I have 15 minutes. How about that? Go ahead.
So I like it in my mind to the Garden of Eden, where God labels this tree the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. And you see an indication that before they ever messed with that tree, that Eve knew that it was evil to mess with that tree. And she pleads an argument to Satan, saying, we're not supposed to be doing that. That would be wrong for us to be doing, right? And I've always thought about that as being the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, meaning that is the tree where if you, not that there's any magical thing that happens and their eyes are opened in any kind of mysterious way, but in a world of experience, right? If you know what it is to have done good and evil, right? Prior to that, they didn't know what it is. All they had known was what it is to do good. And when they participated in that tree, because God set the boundaries on that tree, then they knew what it was to have participated in good and evil, right? And so then they had that experience.
Which
To
is
say,
gonna
oh,
take
that
back.
was a terrible idea. You know?
Yeah. It's, man, that, nice have to know what the other side's like before we completely understand that it's something that we need to avoid. Well, we have to experience it. That's what has to happen. We have to know how lousy it is, or we have to at least acknowledge that somebody else that we're following knows how terrible it is, and they're giving us the guidance, hey, stay away from that. I'm certain that mankind had that kind of guidance back in the garden, that he knew that God knew him in that manner. Well, God did know Adam and Eve in that manner. Mankind didn't know it at that time. We were talking a moment ago about God knowing us. What's the difference between sympathy and empathy? You don't have to give me a dictionary definition, I got it right here. But in your own words, what's the difference between sympathy and empathy?
The element of experience.
I like that. I like that one a lot. Anybody, go ahead.
Sympathy, you understand that someone is hurting or you have sympathy for, and empathy is actually feeling that,
You're feeling it?
feeling it, yeah, whatever.
Why are you feeling it for the cause of empathy? Why are you feeling it? Anybody.
You couldn't experience it.
There you go. That, what was it?
Yeah.
Speak it up.
You've experienced it.
There you go. That's the difference. Okay. Sympathy is a feeling, association, or relationship between persons or things wherein whatever affects one similarly affects the other. A mutual parallel susceptibility or condition brought about. That's the dictionary definition. Okay. I can sympathize with those who have lost a child. Now, if that weren't bad enough, I cannot feel empathy for them, because empathy is the action of understanding, being aware of, being sensitive to, and vicariously experiencing. The feelings, thoughts, and experience of another, either the past or present, without having the feelings, thoughts, and experience fully communicated in an objectively explicit manner. What does that boil down to? It boils down to a phrase like this. Ken, I know where you're coming from, man. I feel for you. I kind of do. And I do. Selling a house is a booger. In some markets, well, it's terrible.
In Hebrews 5:1, right, we finished the passage we read a while ago.
Okay.
It's talking about the earthly high priest. It says, every high priest chosen from among mortals is put in charge of things pertaining to God, on their behalf, to offer gifts and sacrifices for sin. He is able to deal gently with the ignorant and the wayward, since he himself is subject to their weakness. To their weakness. What is that?
A ward.
High priest.
Can I pile on to that one?
Yeah.
Hebrews 4:15, for we do not have a high priest who is unable to emphasize with our weakness. Weakness is what we have, one who's been tempted in every way, just as we are, that he did not sin.
That's what it says here. Thank you. So I won't go into Hebrews 4:15, but I will tell you this. A couple of sayings that we might get for that. Have you ever heard the phrase at your workplace, maybe? Promote from within? What's the connotation of promote from within? Works there already, but what is the purpose? What's one purpose behind it? Experience. Be closer. Motivation of the other workers. They got the idea of what it's like to work there because they came from there. That's what I like to hear. And it's not necessarily true in every facet of leadership in a job position, but the persons, the people that are working there are probably the ones that are best suited to lead those people in that environment. Now, it's not always true, but that's the tendency in many cases. At least that's a good place to begin. Okay, so some of the difference between sympathy and empathy for the peasant king are sympathy implies sharing. Even in our culture, we stretch it out to having the capacity to share and even feelings for another, feeling sorry for another to the extent of pity in our society. That's how we sometimes do it. Whereas empathy to mean imagining or having passive manner, feeling that does not actually have, that a person doesn't actually have, or can actually have, is always from experience. So, look at my paper here. If I use those definitions I just gave for sympathy and empathy, I could say, one might say, that God could only sympathize with us until he sent his son to earth. After the life of Christ, God could then empathize with us. From whose perspective is that $1 million statement written? Mankind's. It is mankind's derivation. It's all mankind's invention. God knew us before we got here. Go ahead, Woody.
Well, now, my thought on the way God interacts with time may not be adopted by all. That's okay. But my thought is that God is currently experiencing all of time, right? So that's why the Bible says stuff like, from before the foundation of the world, the Lamb was slain. God's at the end of time currently. He's at the beginning of time currently. He's all over time, all over the place. So it's not like before Christ went to the cross, he couldn't empathize with us. He could, because time is a non-issue for him. So even from the garden, Jesus knew what it was like to have died and be abused by mankind, because all of it is present tense for God, is my thinking.
There's a thought from me, Sheila. Never considered it from that aspect. Thank you. Never thought about that. We, as mere mortals, we tend to have the capacity to look at time as a straight line. I can't help but think that God looks at time as either an endless cloud or a circle. That's the best I can frame it. If it were a line, God is in all places in the timeline. I can't wrap my head around that one. That's a tough one for me to see. Just like everlasting life. I can conceive an everlasting life. That is a life that starts at one place and then boom, goes on forever. The tough part for me is, what happened before that? Okay. All right, now that you've established it, what happened before that? All right, now that we've got this billions of years ago, billions of years, what happened before that? No, that's the thing. I just, I got, it's that rabbit hole battle. That's a tough one for me to follow. I don't know that our universe is round. I can tell you it feels like I've been to the edge, but I don't know that our universe is round. Oh, that's the galaxy. Sorry. Well, we learned in astronomy that the galaxy, there are billions of galaxies that we know about. Ours is the end. Yeah. You don't know the Earth itself? Yeah. Okay, you are way over my head. Well, I'll tell you, and a smart one at that. Speaking of smart, this is off track, I'm sorry, I'm going to chase a rabbit here. My wife's so smart, let me give you an example. Before I left, she was really suffering from allergies, like I am right now, but she was really bad off. Almost had to skip work. So I compassionately, I'm leaning over to her, I go, "Hon, are you okay? I'm sorry you feel so bad. Is there anything I can do?" She goes, "Well, Mr. McGee, the dishes?" Never ask that woman. We're going to have to offer my help to her again. Oh my goodness. So yeah, you're asking. but yeah, it's something I've always got to be aware of. There's some mighty smart people on this planet. I started to, and the one time that I left to use the bathroom, she was already back out. I said, "No, Dad, good days today."
Yeah.
The persecution is sick. Okay. So, getting back to sympathy and empathy for the peasant king, in some cases, it takes a person who has gone through the suffering. Not that that person is best qualified, but that's the way that the group members see the person in charge. Okay? Would you, you're right there, Larry. Would you, well, let me give you a couple other topics. How about, like we said, alcoholism. How about Gamblers Anonymous. If you were a member of that group, might you want to have a leader of the group, facilitator, if you will, having suffered through that to identify with you? Overeaters Anonymous? Let's get out of Anonymous. What about marriage and counseling? Would you want to go to a marriage counselor that had marriage problems? All right, how about in the past? How about had marriage problems, but has overcome them? It's tough to tell, isn't it? It's kind of tricky. We only got just a couple minutes left. But I guess it just depends on the topic. Okay. But if the group members can identify with the group leader that person has gone through the same suffering that they're going through, the bonds between the members of the group are strengthened. So Jesus coming in human form to earth to know what it was like for us to live among the group, the members of the group. Okay. Who was that benefit for? The members of the group, yeah. That's why Jesus is the bridegroom, and the church, means all husbands, are the bride. And we know the description of how the scriptures tell us to take care of our bride. So we'll just look the last couple of minutes here. Okay. Put up a slide. Is it ready? Let's see this. There we go. Tell me what that means. In your own words, tell me what that means. Ooh, try to help with that. Stay here.
16.
Well,
Go ahead.
if you don't have Christ in your life, then you're gonna have certain death and damnation and whatever.
Okay.
And if you know Christ, then you live eternal.
I like that. This applies to our soul. If we don't have Christ, just like I said, just if we don't have Christ, our soul's going to die. If we do know Christ, then we're going to want to follow Him. We revere Him. We know that He can identify with us. Ain't no death of the soul going to happen there. Go ahead.
So if we know Christ, K-N-O-W, we know life before death.
Okay. Even know pedagogy is? Pedagogy. I hope I pronounced it correctly. Go ahead. Oh, did I miss? All right. Study what?
Study of learning.
Study of learning and education. It's the science behind education and how to learn. Pedagogy. Okay, those pedagogists, they tell us that they specialize in how to teach. They tell you that the two most important factors in order to be an effective teacher is what? The two most important factors of teaching.
To know what you're teaching.
That's the one. What's the other? Know the topic.
And that's
Know the audience. I heard it out there somewhere. Know the audience. We had to realize that God knows His audience. That's why Christ came. That's not the only reason. Well, that's one of them. But it's not a matter of just God saying, oh, my child, Joe, I can empathize with you. I've been there in your shoes, buddy. I know what it's like. Tell me your concerns. Yeah. Maybe in our frail form, we just can't reach that. Therefore, if we have somebody to advocate for us, the holy priest, yeah, Jesus came down. He did it for us. He did it for us in more than one way. It wasn't just dying for our sins, so that we could spend eternity in heaven. We had to know that He was there for us, died for us, okay? We couldn't do it for ourselves, because God is still separated from sin. That's all the time I have this morning. If you have any questions, you have to ask me a little afterwards, but let's get ready for the assembly, okay? Thanks for your participation. Thank you.